saddle pads. Most pads are going to have some indicator of which end is the front or back. Our liners have tags on them, or you might have a pad with a design like this, where this leather patch indicates the front of the saddle pad, but a lot of folks will end up with their pads on backwards. You can see the look is kind of awkward as well. Usually a pad is going to be a little bit shaped to sit up on top of the withers. So one indicator is going to be the side of the pad that is higher is typically the front. Another mistake is putting the saddle pads too far back. When the saddle pads are too far back, they get in the way of the horse's movement in their hips, and there's not enough support up in the front where the saddle actually is designed to sit on the horse's back. We want to make sure that our pads are on facing forwards and in the correct spot on our horse's back. Another mistake that's easy to make in the beginning of learning to saddle your horse is before you've really got the cowboy swing down to get that saddle up over the horse's back, a lot of folks will just try to lift it straight up. And unfortunately, you've got way too much stuff in the way. You're likely to knock your pads off on the other side. It doesn't work. So you want to make sure that you work on swing and a lift to get all of that up and over the horse's back. Another common mistake is when bringing the cinches down off of the keeper, not checking to be sure that everything lays smooth. You might get this twisted, or happens more often is the stirrup gets caught up under the cinch, and if I don't check to make sure everything is lying smooth before I go back to the other side, so that our cinch is ready for us to grab on the other side without a problem. Another common mistake I see is folks starting with the back cinch. The back cinch on a saddle does not go on as tightly as the front cinch. This is a really sensitive part of the horse's belly. We don't tighten it up all the way to hold the full force of the saddle on. So you never want to start with the back cinch. That's because if halfway through saddling, if Fred were to spook here and all I had was the back cinch loosely attached, the saddle could slide off but be stuck around his belly. It could easily roll underneath or get caught on his legs in some way, and it would be attached to him but not held securely in the right place. So we always, this is the same for blankets as well, you always want to start with the most secure, snug attachment part of the equipment so that it's attached to the horse's body if anything happens partway through. The way that our saddling up system works here at our barn, and is pretty common with many barns, is you're going to saddle up in a different space than you're going to ride in. And so we don't need to be tightening up our cinch as tight as it will go before we get on while we're still here in the saddling area. It can be really uncomfortable for the horses to have it so tight when they're not ready to move yet. Fred's standing here. He's probably taken a nap while I was grooming. So we want to give him a chance to take deep breaths and be ready for that cinch to be tight. Instead, I'm just going to make it snug enough, like we were talking about before. If something were to go wrong and he were to move around quite a bit, it's snug enough to hold the saddle on, but it's not as tight as it's going to be before I mount.